The 5 worst career advice trends online that are holding you back in your career. I'm Kendall Berg, that career coach, and I'm here to help you navigate the world of the career game, finding out what those secrets are and how you can navigate and progress yourself forward. Today, we're talking about the 5 worst career advice trends that I see online, that I hear people talking about, that I just frankly don't want you to do. Okay? I would rather you spend your time being smart and intentional and strategic about your career than wasting your time listening to some of these. So number 1 is don't waste your time helping others. I hear this all the time online. Focus on your own job. Don't be offering to help other people with their scope. Don't be overextending yourself. What? The world of corporate is a world of interpersonal relationships. The only way you progress your career, the only way you get things done, the only way you are successful long term is by building relationships. And the best way to do that is to help other people and to give other people the opportunity to solicit your help. And so, why this becomes a really big problem is you're cutting off collaboration. This is going to kill your future referrals. This is going to kill the conversations about you in promotion. When we get into cross calibrations and somebody's like, well, Kendall might be great, but she didn't help me with any of these 10 things I asked her to do. Don't put yourself in that position. I've joked before, I had a COO who used to say every time I would walk into a meeting, oh, Kendall's here. It's time for 50 shout outs. Why? Because I'm giving shout outs to every single person who's helping me and who helped me get this project across the finish line, because I want them to get credit. I want to advocate for them. They did something that benefited me, and I don't want that to get lost in the shuffle. And I'd much rather you become the type of person who helps other people and gives credit to other people who help you than become the type of soul-sucking corporate monkey soul-sucking corporate robot that doesn't build relationships or care about the people around them. Instead, you should help others. You should give back to them. You should build those relationships. Now, should you do that at the expense of your mental health? No. Should you do this in a way that requires you to work 100-hour weeks? No. Are there trade-offs required when we take on new scope? Absolutely. But if you're smart about how you do it, build those relationships. I worked with an individual once. We worked together for years, kind of interacted every once in a while, but not very often. There was a reorg. This person ended up in an area much closer to me. We start talking 3, 4, 5 times a week. This person's like, oh my God, I wish I talked to you 3 years ago. I've been stuck on this project this whole time, but I didn't want to waste your time, or I didn't think you had time to help me. And I'm like, no, you should absolutely come to me. We need to be building these relationships. And so that's just a great example of, if you're not going out of your way, and in this case, it was me, to help other people, and they're not soliciting, this is where we get stuck. This is where we're unable to build these relationships that are really key to our long-term partnership. Number 2 of bad advice I see online is cut all of your experience that's older than 15 years. So this is like not putting it on LinkedIn, not putting it on your resume, not talking about it in an interview. This is going to be a yes and a no for me. So the problem is that having more experience can give you increased credibility, right? Having work experience of doing these things and showing your career progression, it can give you credibility and allow you to get new roles. However, this is when there's consistent growth. This is when you're showing that upward progression. This is when the work you did 15 years ago is still relevant to what you're doing today. So I think for me, this one is a time and place evaluation. Now, we don't want to age ourselves, right? We don't want to put ourselves in a position on our resume. I have clients come to me who are sensitive about this all the time, where, well, I don't want to put the year I graduated, or I don't want to put all my work experience because I don't want them to know how old I am. Fair. Saying that ageism does not exist in the workplace is probably a bit optimistic. But if there's relevant work experience, then we do care about it, right? So what I will generally say is, if you have work experience and you've worked at the same company for, let's say, 10 years and you held multiple titles, you may only need one section on your resume for that company in which you show this title, this title, this title, this title, and a block of what you're doing currently. That could be okay. And that's going to save you space on your resume so that you can get to some of those older job opportunities. Alternatively, if you list your most 3 recent jobs on your resume, maybe the jobs before that each become just a company, a title, and a duration. We don't go into the specifics of what we did in that role, but we do show that we held that title, that we were present in that company, that we did achieve things over that time, so that the individual who's interviewing you can see your growth. Man, she started as an associate. She got promoted 5 times in 6 years, and then now has been a director for 2 of her most recent positions. That's a great story. That's something we want hiring managers and recruiters alike to see. So for me, this one is a little bit of both. We don't want to cut the experience that's older, but we might minimize how much detail we go into. But you want to give yourself that credibility. You want to show that growth because that's what people are looking for. Oh, did they grow? Did they evolve? Are they able to take on new scopes? Yes. And that's what you want as you're in that job market. Number 3, and this is going to be a controversial one, is just follow your passion. Don't follow your passion. Okay. I'm going to come out and say it. I'm going to be the least popular career coach ever. Don't follow your passions. Your passions will lead you to ruin. Okay. Not really. In the end, having passion is great. Being passionate is cool. But your growth depends on having the right skills that align with the right demand. And I was recently talking about this with my husband, in fact, that people who do what they truly love for work very often end up not loving that thing long term. Now, there are exceptions to this. Okay. So if you're listening and you're like, I'm an artist and I love art and my job is fabulous. Awesome. I'm super happy for you that your passions and your skills and your work all aligned. Thrilled. But this is a really, really small percentage of the population. Okay. The reality is that if you love golf, and you become a golf pro, you probably end up liking golf a lot less by the end of it. Not to say you don't still like golf, not to say you're not still skilled at golf, but it takes some of the joy out when you have to be there at a certain time, when you have to work. And then you don't want to stay at your work after you're done working and do that thing, right? So I get really frustrated by this concept of a perfect job, of a dream job, of, I really do this because I'm really passionate about it. One, passions tend to not be where the money is. And I'm not saying you have to be greedy and always work for the money. I'm not saying that. But I don't work for free. You probably don't work for free. So there's a balance there. Okay. But also, if you're not working with the right team, your passion is going to become misery. If you're not working for the right company, your passion is going to become misery. If you don't have the right balance to pursue your passion at an individual level and at a corporate level or a professional level, it's going to become misery. And so this idea that we need this perfect intersection of the things I love to do and my job, it's unrealistic. What I would much prefer for anybody who's listening is get a good job that you don't hate, that's a good alignment to your skills, for a company that has a good culture and a boss who actually likes you, work a 40-hour work week that's balanced where you're able to eat lunch not at your desk, and then go pursue your passions with all your extra time and money, right? I'm not saying there's never a chance where your passions will align. I'm just saying that more often than not, working your passion is going to decrease your passion for that. And so be realistic with what you want out of life. I'm very passionate about interior decor. I love it. I think it's super fun. Do I do it for a living? No. Would I enjoy doing it for a living? Heck no. Okay. But I love doing it. It is a hobby of mine, and that is okay. I don't have to work for an interior design firm doing what I do as a technology lead in order to feel happy in my career. Now, I work in banking. I've talked about this on previous podcast episodes. Am I super passionate about banking? Is banking like my dream? No, it's not. Okay. But it pays well. I like the people I work with. We have a great company culture. I'm able to work on really cool projects and solve really unique problems. It's a great job. Am I going to go start a bank? Am I not passionate about it? No. That's okay. So stop putting yourself in this box of like, oh, I need to understand what I'm really passionate about and how that's going to interact with my skills and where I need to work. No, be realistic, right? If you're great at something that is a passion, awesome. Start a company, do that thing. That's what career coaching is for me. But don't hold yourself into this little box of like, everything's got to be perfect. Nothing is perfect. Okay. I'm sorry to tell you. It's a bummer. All right. Number 4 is people online saying that your network is not important and your work will speak for itself. I saw a video on LinkedIn, whatever they're calling reels, LinkedIn videos, maybe 3 weeks ago. I actually sent it to a career coach friend of mine. And the individual in that video was a CEO. I'm not going to say what company. And in their interview, they said, I just want my people to keep their heads down and work hard. That's what's going to get them promoted. And I laughed until I cried. Because what that tells me is, one, that CEO has no idea how his company works. Okay. Because if he did, that would not be the advice he's giving. But 2, how's anybody going to know what great work you did heads down at your desk if you don't talk about it, if you don't have relationships, if you're not communicating with your leadership? I can tell you right now, I have never built a spreadsheet that was so advanced, it popped off my screen, walked to my boss's desk, and told my boss how awesome I was. It doesn't do that. Okay. Now, there are opportunities where your work is very visible. You work on a very visible project. And as a result, you're able to build these relationships, and those relationships get you credit for the work you do. That happens. But the interpersonal piece is still there. Reality is that no one outside of your team, and likely even outside of your boss, if your boss knows, understands what your accomplishments and your achievements are. If you don't have visibility, you are not going to get opportunities. Networking is the most important. If you take nothing else away from this episode, for the love of God, please start investing in your network. It is critical. Number 5 is that micromanagers are great. You're able to learn so much from them. So I have learned a lot from micromanagers about what I don't want to be in the workplace. Okay. Now, there are times and situations where I manage more closely the individuals in my team. Okay. You're underperforming, you're really junior, you're fresh out of college. You need more support. You need more management. You need more guidance. What you don't need is micromanagement. And what most leaders don't understand how to do is set proactive checkpoints. So this is something I coach on all the time. I'm not going to spend too much time on it today. But what you need to be able to do instead is say, hey, here's a checkpoint. I'm giving you this assignment. You are due to report this back to me on Tuesday for a pre-read, Friday for a second pre-read, and the following Friday for final due date. Let's check in. Set your checkpoints ahead of time. Otherwise, you don't know what's going on as a manager, and then you're pinging. Hey, did you do this thing? Hey, did you do this thing? Hey, did you do this thing? That's so annoying. Be proactive as a manager and avoid that. And as somebody who's being micromanaged, learn what your boss needs so that you can proactively provide that information to them and you don't lose your mind. Okay, we're going to do a whole nother episode on that coming up shortly. So the ultimate truth here is that true leadership is going to empower their employees, empower their team, not suffocate them. And so finding that balance becomes really, really critical for where you want to go in your career and in your leadership. And I'm going to give you a bonus. So we talked 5 career limiting moves that are talked about on the internet, but I'm going to give you a bonus 6. This one I just found really funny. I saw a piece of advice the other day saying you should intern at the White House. It looks great on your resume. I don't know that that worked out for Monica Lewinsky, so I'm just going to leave that there. I mean, she has had a very successful career since, so maybe it is great for your resume. I guess it depends on your type of resume. But ultimately for her, it was quite a bit of like unwanted fame and long-term backlash. So we want to make sure that we're prioritizing our safety over a little bit of prestige. So keep that in mind. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully today's episode was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, make sure you're checking back in each week for our mini episodes and our long podcast episodes where we give great advice to help you navigate your career. I'm Kendall, and I'll see you next week.